I think I understood it on a deeper level because the characters in the book are, well, especially Thea, the main character, the therapist, is grappling with this, and she's looking at sort of generational experience and where did this start? Why did this man who seemed like a decent person have this terrible aspect? Um, and it can't be resolved in the book because of the absence of the daughter who is not willing to see her mother. But insofar as the mother can work on the issues, she works on them and she moves to a different place.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the author podcast, where you get to meet amazing authors from around the world. Today's author has multiple books for you to fall in love with, a variety of things to read, a great story as well to share from his own writing journey, and he's here to encourage the authors that are listening to the show as well, that you can do this. You can write your book and share your story. And Tad Crawford's here on the show. So excited to have him here. We've already had a great chat already together, and now it's time to record. So, Tad, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you on Living the Next Chapter.
Thanks, Dave. I'm delighted to be here.
Excellent. Tad, tell everybody where you are. Where do you live?
So I am in the Hudson Highlands. I'm living in Putnam Valley, New York, not too far from the Hudson River, about 8 miles, and next to Woodstock State Forest, which is a 14,000-acre state forest, lovely for hiking.
So you love being outside, outdoors?
Oh yeah, I love just going on a hike, sometimes on the trails, sometimes off the trails, and it's beautiful country.
Talk a little bit, Tad, about your background, your career prior to writing and authorship. What kind of things have you done in the past?
Yes, so I was always interested in writing, and but I went to law school and graduated from Columbia Law School, practiced law, but got very involved in teaching at the School of Visual Arts and helping artists and other creative people. So my first book was Legal Guide for the Visual Artist. I then wrote the Writer's Legal Guide, and then about a dozen books like that, designed as practical books to help creative people. And then wrote a book on money and mythology, what money means to us in our souls. It's called The Secret Life of Money. And then went on to write novels. I had been writing fiction the whole time, but didn't publish a novel until A Floating Life in 2011. That was followed by On Wine Dark Seas, which is about Telemachus and Odysseus. And then most recently, A Woman in the Wild, which is about a therapist in distress who goes to the Institute for Healing and Transformation in the mountains. In the course of all of this, I was at one point the general counsel to the Graphic Artists Guild. I initiated a course on law for artists at the School of Visual Arts. I've been a member of the Authors Guild since 1976, and was very active in trying to help authors deal with practical concerns that are not exactly about creativity and are not the most interesting things they might like to focus on, but nonetheless are very real. And in 1989, I created Allworth Press, which was designed to allow other authors to also help in this mission to inform creative people.
Wow. Okay, so how has the legal side of creative people and what they put out into the world, how has that changed over the years?
Well, copyright is at the heart of it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, also for authors in particular, contracts. And copyright, you can see how it's undergone remarkable changes. There was a new copyright law that came into effect in 1978. Work for hire became a large issue. And that was the question of if an employee creates a copyrightable work, it's work for hire. But sometimes freelancers can create work for hire if they sign a written contract and the work falls into certain categories, such as a work designed to supplement another work or a contribution to a larger work. So these were sort of pitfalls that writers had to deal with. Now we're dealing with AI, and you can just imagine these harvesting of what are presumably copyrighted works raises great risks of infringement. The anthropic settlement of $1.5 billion is just the kind of probably first chapter in an unfolding sequence of trying to understand what this really means and how do you deal with AI authored work.
The space has definitely changed, and I've had some very opinionated comments from authors coming on the show who some dabble in AI and some are completely opposed to AI and what it's doing to the author space. Do you have any kind of thoughts and feelings around where we're headed, if this is where we are today, what's coming?
Well, I mean, the Authors Guild is putting into place a human authored branding, and I think that's a good thing. I think people should know who wrote something because, a novel like A Woman in the Wild, which is about very personal relationships, it's one thing if a human who experienced some of these things wrote it, and it's quite another thing if a machine that has harvested abstractions from lots and lots of published works has created it. And I will say, to just digress slightly, that I was approached as an author by what appeared to be a person saying, oh, we have reviewers who will review your book, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it basically seems to have been an AI scam, and there are other scams like that where they approach an author and say, oh, I can get you in touch with book clubs, but in that case, when they researched the book clubs, they didn't exist. So, it's like if you're being promised something that's too good to be true, unfortunately, it probably is. But so there are dangers with AI, and also the AI programs that are supposed to determine whether something was written with AI are not 100% foolproof.
Yeah, the one person I had on, she was upset. She sent a PDF copy of her new book to a podcaster who then threw it into one of those models online to create questions for her as a guest on his show. But in doing so, surrendered her entire book
Oh,
from
wow.
beginning and end right to AI. And now that book is now out there, right? And she was not happy that's something she had worked on for years and years and very personal stories. And one click, off it went,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah,
the curious thing about this what I think was a scam in relation to me was that all that they wanted was a PDF of the book.
right,
I
right.
mean, that seems like very little in a certain way.
Yeah,
But, I had the publisher then go back and forth with them, and they couldn't provide a physical address. They provided a phone number that they never answered. I mean, so it was just fishy.
yeah. We're seeing it in podcasting too, where podcasts are being generated by AI voices and they're not even real humans. And people are like, well, is that where we're heading? Like, so it's having an impact beyond writing as well in that creative space.
Yeah, and certainly they're capable. They're getting more and more capable, and one can imagine that in the years to come, they're going to be shockingly able to create things that appear to be human written.
Right.
And then we just have a kind of dilemma because the writer's process is so different from this process of harvesting and kind of melding something that it believes will be appealing. I mean, one of the things that they offered me was they said, our readers sometimes like something a lot and they send $20 to $25 to the author. I thought, oh my God, this is not an enticing thought.
Yeah. There you go.
So they're
Yeah.
not
And
quite
yeah.
they're not quite on the right wavelength yet.
No, no, they haven't figured that out. No. So, as you work with authors, as you support authors, are you seeing people still interested in writing, still wanting to share their story? Has anything changed from an author's perspective in
I
2025?
mean, and as a member of the Authors Guild, there's a kind of forum for Authors Guild members, and you just see there are still innumerable people who want to create and share
Yeah.
their stories. So there's no doubt that human desire to author things, to be creative, remains. and just a slightly different environment in which that work has to be presented.
Yeah. One thing I do like, if we can kind of counterbalance what's happening in AI, is that a human written story still will stand out amongst all of the sameness that's being produced by these tools. They seem to be watered down. They don't have as much emotion or real life story, real life connection. So a real, true human written story will almost become the anomaly in the world, where it's going to stand out as something uniquely different than a sea of multiple books written by some computer somewhere. So
Right. I
it
guess
might
one
be
of
the
the
opposite.
problems, of course, is to get attention for any particular book.
Right.
And I mean that's the process that we're kind of going through, that I'm on your podcast, that you're
Right.
introducing me to your audience, that I'm on social media, I'm on TikTok as author Tad Crawford and on Instagram as Tad Crawford author. All of these efforts to kind of make one's work known when there are so many works that can easily be created by AI and kind of clog the field.
Right.
I mean, of course, there are a lot of human authors also, and self-publishing has filled a need, but also meant that there are many more titles than there used to be.
So for those listening right now, Tad and I are not AI. We're actually two human beings having a conversation. We are real people. So, yeah, I didn't understand, I think, fully 3, 4 years ago when I started this podcast that we would be even having this conversation about AI and authorship.
Oh,
And I
no.
understand now that this podcast and other podcasts like it are really a great way to reinforce human stories written by humans for humans in conversation through podcasts, for example. This is actually filling a need to spotlight amazing authors like you and other authors as well.
Yeah, one of the questions on TikTok was, I'm very concerned about AI. Was your book written by AI? So in one of my posts, I said, you asked and I listened. And no, my book was not written by AI. It was completely human authored by this human, so, and I don't intend to write using AI in the future. So
Yeah.
my next novel will also be human authored.
Yeah, I didn't think Mark Twain had to worry about that question about his work at all back in the day, right? So, no, there you go. I love it. Okay, so Tad, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about your writings. You listed off a series of books for people, for a new reader coming to you for the first time, Tad. Where would you like to send them as a first starting point, as a
Well,
new reader to your world?
I mean, naturally, I'm very excited about my most recent novel, which is A Woman in the Wild.
Mm,
And it tells the story of a therapist who has made a mistake in her life. And she is feeling a guilt and sorrow and loss over her estrangement from her daughter, and decides to take a time away from her practice and go from the city to the country to the Institute for Healing and Transformation, where she can try to meditate and hike and just come to some terms of perhaps finding self-forgiveness and the resilience to go forward. The As she arrives there, a man who has been seen keeping company with a bear in the woods is captured and brought in, and through a series of events, he is given over to her for healing. And in this case, the question is, would being normal be healing, or is there something about being wild that is in itself healing? So she's got to grapple with that as she tries to make the silent man come back more toward what communication and human interaction.
mm,
But the basic problem of the novel is that the therapist's second husband, the stepfather of her daughter, sexually abused the daughter. And when this finally came to light, when the daughter was 15, the therapist did not unequivocally side with her daughter. She didn't divorce the second husband. Uh, she didn't say that she didn't accept his story. He never admitted it. And she sends the daughter away to private school and sends the husband to therapy. And he does not really participate in the therapy, and eventually they get divorced. But the daughter is angered that the mother did not side with her unequivocally. And that is the sort of crux of where the book comes from.
Wow. So instead of sending the stepfather away and getting counseling for the daughter, it was the reverse.
She made a mistake.
Right.
Yeah. So people make mistakes. I mean, in sexually abusive situations like that, where the husband or the stepfather is the abuser, the wife is in a kind of predicament. And it's not such an, I mean, we can say it's totally wrong, but it's not such an easy thing to resolve as a person.
Yeah, there's relationship bonds there. There's love. There's the absence of anyone doing anything wrong because love is blind. There's a bunch of different things like that play into it as well. But yeah, that's a tricky situation to navigate.
And unfortunately, I mean, there is enough sexual abuse that many women are faced with this.
And for her being a therapist and dealing with this at the same time internally, that's another piece to the puzzle as well.
Yes, and of course, we have to realize that therapists are just people, and they have their own problems. They're not AI therapists. They are human therapists.
Right.
They suffer from all the failings that we suffer from.
Right. And yeah, it's almost like a plumber who has bad plumbing at home. They do it for others, but they don't do it for themselves. Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. So what was the seed? What was the idea of this book, Tad? Where did that come from?
So I mean, I've known a number of people who have spoken to me about being sexually abused and how their parents acted in the course of that, whether the parents knew or not, and then if they did know, how they acted. And it just struck me that this was a profound issue and very important to address. So particularly in some close relationships that I had with people, there were certain emotional pieces that just couldn't be present because of the abuse.
Yeah.
So I learned and felt it was important enough to write about.
Did you come to your own realization and resolution through the process of writing the book that helped you to kind of grapple with this
I
topic?
think I understood it on a deeper level
Okay.
because the characters in the book are, well, especially Thea, the main character, the therapist, is grappling with this, and she's looking at sort of generational experience and where did this start? Why did this man who seemed like a decent person have this terrible aspect? Um, and it can't be resolved in the book because of the absence of the daughter who is not willing to see her mother. But insofar as the mother can work on the issues, she works on them and she moves to a different place.
So, for a reader then, for this book, did you have any kind of preface that you'd like to give to the reader, something that they need to know about this story before they dive in? Any kind of guidance for somebody new?
Well, I think one of the really wonderful things about the book is that it is like being at a healing institute.
Okay.
Maybe a book I enjoyed tremendously was The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann, and we might call this a modern Magic Mountain.
Hmm.
She goes to the Institute for Healing and Transformation. In a sense, we all go there with her, and we all get to walk in the woods. We all get to go to the meditation hall. Now, one of the nice things about this institute is that the director is a former teacher of hers. So she goes to be with a mentor, and the importance of having a mentor, whether in an emotional crisis like this one, or even as a writer, just to have older writers or more experienced writers who will help guide you forward and critique your work in a helpful way. I mean, it's just very, very important. So the mentor is a key figure here. His name is Andreas. And he has retired from the practice of therapy and gone to head this institute.
So your background mentoring and being a part of the author community could have some kind of parallel with the story here, right?
Y- Uh, yes, I certainly had a concern for the well-being of creative people
Right.
and expressed itself in many books in the publishing company. And actually, also, I authored a number of pieces of legislation, some of which were enacted in various states like New York and California. So uh, there is a desire to mentor or be helpful.
So you're saying that words carry meaning and can make change from what I'm hearing from you.
Words carry weight, so does
Yeah.
passion. That's one of the reasons I would say that it's important, if possible, to write about things you feel passion with respect to.
Right.
Um, and then to seek out, uh, I think readers are so important, to have a group of readers who will look at what you write and give you honest criticism, not hurtful criticism, helpful criticism,
Yeah.
but are willing to be honest with you. And that allows you the opportunity to work on your writing and to improve it.
How hard is it for a new author to find that group of people who can give that input for you as a writer?
I think it's just a matter of wanting it and then being willing to ask. Over the years, I've accumulated a group whose opinions I value a lot, and it's always a kind of open group. If you like to read and you're intelligent, compassionate,
Right.
then you're a potential candidate and may be invited to read something.
Because there's readers listening to this going, I would love to participate in something like that. And I love reading and I love supporting authors. And I've never considered the fact that I could be part of something like that. So that's
Yeah, no,
interesting.
they can, each person, each writer can create something like that.
Okay, so Women in the Wild, when did this book come out?
So the book came out in May,
Okay.
and I've been doing quite a lot of social media actually. And there's a beautiful audio version that was done by an actress, voiceover artist named Roxanne Hernandez, and I highly recommend that. Of course, there's also a Kindle version, and then at the moment, a hardcover. Later, there'll be a paperback.
Anything surprising for you as an author when you hear someone read your book in an audiobook format? Do you hear it
Well,
differently?
well, one of the people at the Institute who is assigned to help Thea take care of the wild man, as he's called at the beginning of the book, then a little later, the bear man, and then a little later, they say, this is terrible. He is a person. Let's call him by his name. And he's Lucas Lamont. Is Moritz, who is Austrian and is initially a German speaker. And she has a German accent when she reads his part. I think she did a great job. And so she's reading the men's parts and the women's parts.
Wow.
It's really a delight to hear it.
It's nice to work with somebody who knows what they're doing from an audio
Oh,
perspective. Isn't that great?
she's very experienced. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because I've had authors come on that talk about audiobooks for their writings and they listen to it and what the narrator and how they narrate, they hear their words differently through someone else's voice. They seem to accent things differently. They highlight things a little differently than they did as a writer. And in listening, it feels like almost someone else's work as they listen through this. So I didn't know if that was something that you sort of experience, is that feeling of, wow, that's my book. Those are my words. Yeah.
I certainly experienced it as mine, and yet it was with a different intonation.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something different about it. Because also in the social media that I do read some passages, and my reading is different from hers,
Right.
and hers is quite distinctive. So it was an interesting contrast, and I felt very appreciative that I got someone who was such a fine narrator.
Let's talk a little bit more about your social media too, because that's another piece that when I have authors on, some of them struggle with social media and how to get on and where to be and what kind of content to create for social. What's kind of your approach to social media as an author?
Well, I created five areas that I thought were important and then tried to rotate my posts through those areas. So some of it would be myself as an author. Some of it would be the setting, the nature of the novel. Some of it would be the journey of the main character, her guilt, her sorrow, her possibility of self-forgiveness, her resilience, her need to transcend, in a sense, the where she starts the book to where she ends the book. And then the issue of sexual abuse. I mean, it's a
Right.
societal issue. So that some of the posts were even about people like Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
which is just a news story.
Yeah. And just being top of mind, and people are searching for that information and that topic. So if you show up, your book can be a resource to help people in that search.
Yes, I mean, so this is the way one person. I mean, the destructive impact of sexual abuse is on the whole family. So this is how one person who made a mistake, a mother, tries to deal with it. And then you see the damage done to the daughter. And then there are other people that she's in touch with who also in the family have suffered, and particularly relatives of her former husband, who is the abuser. Like, why did he become an abuser? What
Right.
abuse was there in his family? And that is delved into.
As you look at the book and others in the world, Tad, what brings you joy? What brings you a sense of accomplishment knowing this is out there?
Oh,
What part of it helps for you as an author to go, I'm glad this is done. I'm glad it's out there. And how are you feeling now?
well, I feel that it's almost like a state of mind. It's like if we need a healing journey, this book takes us on one.
Right.
In a way, I would like to go to the Institute for Healing and Transformation. And I think that the long process of writing the book, it took me 7 years, uh, was like staying there, with the main character who goes to the Institute to be in those rooms, to deal with the silent, wild man, to have the mentor, all of that imaginatively recreated in a way. Um, and I think that that can be the reader's experience too. I mean, I remember reading The Magic Mountain and just feeling like, oh my God, I'm in this place, and I could only read a few pages a night, and I kind of stayed there a long time.
So this book is a good accompaniment for someone. It's something you're going to read through maybe in a hurry, but maybe you're going to take some time with this book.
I think readers in general have said that.
Yeah.
It's not a book you would read quickly. It's a book that draws you into the depths. And it's very, these are comments that it's very well written, that the descriptions of nature make you feel as if you're in nature, um, and that the characterizations are very compelling.
Do you have any questions for your main character through the process of going away and getting that reset button and all the help that she got in the process? If you had a chance to ask your main character a question about her experience, would you have a question for her?
I'd have a lot of questions. And the first thing I'd like to know is after the end of the book, what happens to Lucas Lamont, the wild man,
Mm.
and what is her relationship to him?
And then her relationship with her daughter as well would be something I'd be curious about, and the healing parts that need to happen there in the story. That'd be of interest as well.
I've written a prequel, which is the story of Lucas Lamont and how he comes to be with the bear,
Hmm.
and their journey through the wilderness. And it's really it's an Orpheus story. He's searching for his dead wife.
Hmm.
But I'm also imagining now a sequel to A Woman in the Wild, which would be the story of the absent daughter who comes back to the Institute in a way in search of her mother and meets Lucas Lamont, who has been healed by her mother. and is now
Interesting.
speaking and is out of the institute and back in human society.
Wow. So that's kind of something that you're kind of wrestling with right now, that idea
I
for a story?
I have had several different ideas, and I seem to have settled on that idea at least for the moment.
Yeah.
But I have not started writing it, so that's a little bit in the future.
There you go. A little sneak peek for everybody. Because I know as the listeners, as readers, they love to connect with a new author and then also know that maybe there's more coming from their favorite author in the future to look forward to. So that's kind of why I named my show Living the Next Chapter, because I want to know from you, Tad, like if there's something coming up in the future for you that we can look forward to. So that's good.
I think it's a good title, Living the Next Chapter, and particularly for Thea, that she's gone there, so there will be a next chapter.
Right, right.
Otherwise, you're kind of just in the same place, and you can't turn the page.
So there's hope for all of us, is what I'm getting from this conversation, Tad.
I think you're right, and it is our inner resources, our connection to our psychological journey and our dream life and nature. I mean, all of the things that can be healing and kind of reinforcing to us as human beings.
If you could stockpile some inner resources for yourself personally, Tad, what kind of things would you value that you're like, I want to have extra of this in the future so I can lean on this? What is it for you?
These are not digits in a bank account.
Nope. Right.
Things that I value my dream life. I write down all of my dreams. I study them.
Mm.
They were actually the source of one of my prior novels on Wine Dark Seas. I dreamt of my father and that he was a wounded Greek youth. And as I pursued that idea, I came to Achilles and eventually came to Odysseus and Telemachus, and then wrote a book from Telemachus's point of view about the absent father.
Oh,
So, and then so certainly that, certainly nature.
yeah.
I love hiking, and you can't get enough hiking. Uh, Meditative things like I'm reading a book now about an a person from India whom I respect very much, Mera Baba, and in general, trying to be a compassionate and humane human being. I mean, I don't
Right.
think you get too much of that.
And all of those things don't come from an AI person thing. So
Yeah, AI
those
is
are
not
all,
concerned with
no,
that.
no, not so much. No. Uh, so those are all key things. Yeah. And I think that's interesting to hear what people value and what they stockpile. I think that's interesting. And again, I love that you said it's not digits in a bank account, although that's important because we do have to live. But
We have
there
to
are
be
other things
practical.
more important, right? There's
Yeah.
more important. Yeah.
So really, Allworth Press and its books are about being practical.
Mm.
But my life has been lived from both places, being practical and being creative.
Hmm.
And for me, that blending has worked well.
Yeah, that's a good combination. I like those two things together. That's excellent. So, Ted, new books coming down the road for the readers, which is great. They can continue to look forward to new things coming from you in the future. That's
Yes.
awesome. And there's also a distinctive library that they can go back and read some other things that you've worked on as well in the past. So there's a lot to choose from here for the people wanting to connect with you, Tad, beyond the conversation today, and to know more about you and all of that. I have your website up while we're chatting. It's beautiful, by the way. Let's talk
Thank you.
about your website and what people are going to experience when they come to your website.
Well, they're going to find something about my recent novels, particularly A Woman in the Wild is the first one that's covered. Something about my background, what other books I've written, and some essays that relate to my writing. So I think that would be an excellent place to go. There's also a way to communicate with me off the website, and then to go to the social media where I've been very active. I've been posting 5 times a week. So again, that's TikTok is author Tad Crawford, and Instagram is Tad Crawford author.
Lots of great ways to connect with people and for them to connect with you. I think that's excellent, Tad. Again, congratulations on an amazing book, an amazing story with a message. And
Thank you.
it's one thing to write a great story, but to have that underlying message of help and support and encouragement for people to find a healthier version of themselves, I think that's spectacular for a woman in the wild. I think that's really good.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. Thank you for having me on the show. I've enjoyed our talk.
Excellent. Yeah, you're a wonderful person to talk to, Tad. I would love to have you back in the future as you
I'm
work on new
available.
projects. Come back often,
Okay.
often. I'd love to have you back.
Great.
Excellent. Everybody, all information for Tad Crawford in the show notes as always. I know that Tad would love to hear your thoughts, read your words in a review about A Woman in the Wild, because that's going to help Tad to see the story through your eyes as you read the book. And I'm sure it'll be an encouragement for Tad to read your thoughts. So please, when, not if, but when you buy A Woman in the Wild, leave a great review and a detailed review for Tad to read. I think that'd be a good encouragement from a reader to an author. That's one thing we can do to support our authors, is leave those reviews. So please do that. And again, Tad, thank you so much for being on the show, and come back soon in the future.
Thanks so much for having me, Dave.
Excellent. Thanks, Tad. Hey, thank you so much again for pressing play. As you've heard, great guests on the show. And one thing you didn't hear in this conversation is what? What did you not hear? Think about it for a second. That's right. Not a single solitary commercial for a mattress or a supplement or a whatever you call it. No. Why? Because we don't want to break up the conversation with commercials. So the fact that you're still here means that you are a fan of the show, I'm assuming. So if you want to help to keep the podcast going and to make me feel really happy, all I really care about is coffee, okay? I just got to be honest. I love coffee. I'm drinking one right now. It's starting to get cold. I need to warm it up. Helping us with our Buy Me a Coffee link over at livingthenextchapter.com and also in the show notes helps kind of keep the lights on around here. Remember, I'm doing this for free. I'm paying for everything. So I would love to have a little coffee donation, even $5 kind of fills up my cup. And I would love to enjoy a coffee from you. So if you're interested, again, thank you for listening. But you can use our Buy Me a Coffee link and fill up the cup. Thanks for being here.